Open ear and sports earbuds have been a big area of focus for audio tech manufacturers over the last couple of years, and SoundPEATS are no exception. This time last year, I was putting the finishing touches to a big comparison of 4 of SoundPEATS releases in this space, including the GoFree 2 and Wings 2. But today we'll be taking a look at the Breezy, the newest addition to their portfolio, and seeing how it compares to those other 2 previous models. We'll be seeing how they fare in their primary use case, exercise. You're going to hear call samples in busy real life scenarios, and there's a binaural sound test so you can actually hear what the Breezy sound like for yourself and how they sound in comparison to the GoFree 2. The MSRP is £49.99 here in the UK, but the retail price is around £43, and on AliExpress you can pick them up as low as $31 or $36 US. But given those other 2 models have been out a little while, you're paying more for the Breezy than the GoFree 2 or the Wings 2, so it'll be interesting to see if they're worth it. I've left purchase links for all of these models in the description. Their Bluetooth 5.4 chipset offers support for both multipoint and the AAC and SBC codecs. They sport 12mm dynamic drivers, and there's plenty of customization options in the supported SoundPEATS Audio app. But the biggest differentiator about this release is the speaker area, which can be rotated up to 90 degrees. So if you're one of those people who struggles to get even open ear earbuds to fit their ears well, there's some added flexibility here that might benefit you. This isn't something that's unique to SoundPEATS though, given that we've already seen this adjustable design in releases from Tozo and OneOdio with the OpenRock X. And like with those models, whilst it solves one problem, it creates another. To facilitate the adjustments, the main body is quite bulky, much bulkier than the Wings 2, and actually bulkier than the GoFree 2, even though it may not look like it from this angle. The GoFree 2, which you can see here on the right, has a skin-friendly silicone coating, making it softer to the touch of your skin. The Breezy, by contrast, is quite thick and blocky, and it feels a little bit uncomfortable. As you can see here, it creates a gap where the ear hook should be tight and flush to your skin. This can feel a little bit loose when you're doing exercise, but it can also cause excessive pinch around your ear. Whilst the Breezy look nice with that shimmery look to the exterior and very subtle branding, comfort is the most important thing when it comes to buds like these, because typically you'll be using them for exercise. And whilst I found them okay for short weight sessions, I wasn't massively keen on how loose they felt when I took them on the treadmill and out for a run. The length of the main speaker bit is pushing the ear hook away from my ear as well, which means it's much tighter behind it. I know comfort is very subjective, but of all of the SoundPEATS sports buds I've tried, these were the least comfortable for me. The battery connectors are on the side that makes direct contact with your skin, and given that you'll be using these for sport and you're likely to get sweaty, it potentially makes them susceptible to corrosion much quicker. Another problem with the adjustable design is that you'll have to remember to reset the adjustment when you're putting them back in the case. You already have to remember to turn the buds upside down, because that's the way that they sit when they're charging. It just feels like not a lot of thought has gone into this design at all. They're only IPX4 as opposed to IPX5 with the GoFree 2. Whilst this means very little in the real world, I would hazard a guess that if you're exposing them to the outdoors constantly, they're not going to last as long. This design also has an impact on the sound, given that the speaker unit is a little bit further away from your ear canal, resulting in the bass dissipating even more than it would on any other set of open ears. OneOdio got round this with the OpenRock X by adding an additional adjustment inwards and outwards. And with their OpenFit Air, Shokz got round the problem just through careful design and targeting the audio better. And when we look at the frequency response measurements of all of these models, the Breezy falls some way short of all of them in the bass department, and that's largely down to that design. As a result, out of the box, the Breezy sounds excessively bright and harsh. But thankfully this can be mitigated somewhat in the SoundPEATS Audio app. Make sure that dynamic EQ on the front screen is toggled as it should be by default. That's the sound profile that we're going to use for the rest of the review. Compared to the default, as you can see here, you've got a much better balance between the trebles, the upper mid-range and the bass. You can see now in the measurements against those other models that it much closer reflects the SoundPEATS classic signature house sound with that recessed mid-range and a bigger bass and treble. And whilst this sound profile works well for them with their in-ear buds, for open ear it doesn't necessarily translate as well. Even with dynamic EQ switched on, with certain genres, especially like pop and EDM, where you've got percussion and a heavy concentration of instruments in that treble region, they can still sound excessively bright. Compared to the GoFree 2, the Breezy sounds more fun and energetic, but that added sizzle might not always be beneficial. Remember, these are sports buds and you're probably going to be using them at higher volumes to counteract the sounds of the environment when you're outdoors. While you're running or cycling, the last thing that you want to do is keep activating the touch controls to change the volume, which you might have to do with the more piercing highs of the Breezy, as opposed to the softer, admittedly more boring sound of the GoFree 2. But you can be the judge of that with the following binaural sound samples. Remember, it's always better to listen to these with your headphones on. So only a short sample, but hopefully you could hear the differences between the two sound signatures and why one might be more suitable than the other. There really is no right or wrong answer as to which one you prefer. It is down to personal preference, but hopefully now you've got a clearer idea of each. You can tweak and tailor the sound even more in the Peats Audio app, with SoundPEATS giving you the usual large array of presets, an 8-band plus or minus 6 custom EQ, and adaptive EQ, which plays you a bunch of different sounds at different frequencies and different volumes, and through your interaction it generates you your own personalized EQ at the end. However, I found none of these did as good a job as dynamic EQ. You can also customize your touch controls or disable them altogether. And unlike some manufacturers, there's no restrictions over what you set each gesture to. Game mode took latency on my Sony Xperia 1 down from 400 milliseconds to around 135. Movie mode is something else that SoundPEATS have added in now, which adds a little bit of reverb, an extra bass to the sound, and I'm sure on some of their in-ear releases this will probably be a bit more useful than on a set of open ears. This is how the mic on the Breezy is going to sound if you're in a quiet room, and now you're going to hear samples of how they're going to perform on calls in busy real-life indoor and outdoor scenes. Let's start with testing the SoundPEATS Breezy and how they're going to perform on your calls outdoors in a busy scene. I'm here on London Bridge here in the UK, just making the adjustment. Our seats are adjustable, and what we're trying to replicate here is if you're using the buds on the daily commute. So if you're on the way to work, school, college, train station, something like that, and you've got a mixture of traffic noises, you've got wind coming through, and you've got lots of people nearby. It's a weekend here in London, so very busy, then this is how you can expect them to perform in this kind of scene. And this time we're testing the SoundPEATS Breezy in a busy coffee shop, a very noisy, busy coffee shop, where you've got the sound of the baristas making coffee, you've got music coming to the stereo, indistinct chatter from lots of groups of people nearby. You can see very busy behind me. These are sports buds, so typically you probably won't be using them for calls indoors, and if you do need to make or take a call in a similarly busy scene, then this is how you can expect your voice to be conveyed. The Breezy have multipoint, which works pretty well, although you can't switch it on and off, and there's no device list in the app. And another redeeming feature is their battery life. With all additional features switched off and using the AAC codec, not only did the Breezy get closest to its advertised figure, in its case 10 hours, but it also outperformed both the GoFree 2 and Wings 2 for single use playtime. With nearly 2 hours extra juice over those other models, that's quite a big difference, especially when you multiply it over the 3 additional charge cycles that the case gives you. But the improved battery life and those small additions to the feature set aside, I struggle to see how the Breezy offers you anything over and above what you're already getting from SoundPEATS within their existing range. The sound is more dynamic than the Wings 2 and the GoFree 2, but that isn't necessarily a positive since it's down to personal preference, and it can be mitigated anyway with EQ, at least with the GoFree 2. The adjustable design I found to be a little bit of a gimmick and not particularly well engineered. For me, comfort is the most important thing you should be looking for with a set of open ears, but the Breezy's clumsy design means that they fall wide of the mark. Whether you think I'm right or wrong about the Breezy, I'd love to hear from you, so please do leave your comments in the comments section below. Give the video a like if you found it interesting, useful, both or neither, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. For now, it's ReganCipher signing off.